Well, hello, everyone. I'm live again. It's going to be a long night here. I've had 2 Facebook Lives in a row. Um, so I just want to welcome you to tonight's topic. If you're here for the second hour, welcome back. If you're here for the first hour, our topic today is how do you get through things getting worse before they get better, part of healing. And so I'm going to switch on over to the comments section. And I want to thank Karen for being here with me and for helping me out. And I just want to ask if you're out there and you're live with us, if you let me know that you're there while I'm adjusting my screen so that I can see what I need to see. I want to let you know that we are on Leslie's public Facebook page today. So you might want to keep that in mind. Hi, Lori. So glad you guys could come back. I'm telling you, I'm so totally dysregulated with the seasons changing and everything. For me, when it gets dark, it's dark. It's late. So I was on an hour earlier. You'll have 2 videos to watch, but we're going to cover some of the same material, but we're going to continue the conversation today. How do you get through things getting worse before they get better, part of healing? And so I just want to start the conversation by just asking y'all where you're from and letting me know that you're here as people are signing on. I wondered why we had a small audience, and here I was an hour early. Hi from Illinois. You're my northern neighbor. I'm in, again, as I said, Northeast Ohio. It is, we've had a brutal temperature change. We're in the mid 50s now. Sunny Arizona. Of course you are, T. Howard, Virginia. Okay. It's nice to see you all. Rochester, Michigan. Hi, Nancy. Oh, living in Texas, Lori. Huh. It's nice and warm there, I'll bet. Wow. Oh, and so Claire's originally from Cleveland, Ohio, as am I. I'm in the Akron area now, but was born and raised in the Cleveland area. My family is all still in Ohio. One of these days I may move states, but not quite yet. South Florida, North Texas. Oh, how do you know if you're going to need a jacket? Or we don't. We have everything by the door, our jackets and our flip-flops. But the thing is, I get so cold these days. I can't tell you how many winter coats I have. And I'm telling you, I went out to get the mail today and I was thinking I just have jeans on, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to be wearing, like we used to call it long underwear, but now I don't know what they call it now, but something warm, tights or something underneath my pants because my body is not used to this cold yet. Oh, wow. So we got Dallas, Denver, Michigan, Alberta, Canada. Yay, we've got a Canada neighbor here. Colorado. I hear Colorado's beautiful. I've been there. I haven't really explored Colorado a lot. All right. So who's commenting Michael? I don't know what that means. It's somebody's commenting Michael. Marie from Dallas, LA. My daughter's near LA now. So part of my heart is in that area. She's near a town near Thousand Oaks. And welcome back again, Kathy. Long Johns, absolutely. I gotta get mine out. We went to a craft show on Sunday, and my friend did not plan for the weather. Had to go home and get gloves and a warm winter coat. Oh, a heated coat. I'm a little crazy. I shop TJ Maxx because you can find great deals there. I have 3 what do you call them? Down. I have 3 down coats that go to the floor. I just can't do it anymore. Trinidad and Tobago. Woohoo. And St. Pete. Yeah. That's where a lot of people from Ohio and Canada actually go. My sister goes there every winter, and they stay down in St. Pete, Connecticut. We used to get a lot of snow by the lake, but we don't too much anymore. Well, I don't in Akron here at all. Not even enough to ski in Ohio anymore, really. San Diego, love San Diego. Dallas, I've never been to Texas. Have to do that. So yeah, I just want to say things are getting worse, and I'm going to complain a little bit because the temperature's changing. As I said, I was here an hour early. I am just our admin said, "Why did you go early?" I said, "Evidently, I got confused. It got dark. I just in my mind, thought we were time for our Facebook Live, and here I was an hour early. So, but I'm glad you all are here. I see a lot of people from Cleveland. So things are going to get worse for me because I don't like the winter. I thought I was going to be fine. It's already dark and it's already cold, and I don't want to go outside. Um, and so, a lot less mobile, a lot, I don't go out as much in the winter. I want to hibernate. Sometimes I don't even want to get out of bed. And so I have had to adjust a lot of things, the way that I do things, to try to get through to summer, actually spring. So we don't really hit spring in May in Ohio here until late May is when the weather really starts changing. And so for me, it's been difficult. I have a whole repertoire of behavior that I have to slide back into. I wasn't expecting I was a little optimistic. This isn't going to be hard. I can do this. I've done this before. This morning, I mean, fall is beautiful, yeah, but it's cold. I had to get out my sun lamp and I literally had to get back on the floor and start weightlifting because that lifts my mood and my spirit. And in my mindset, just a little bit about how I do getting worse before it gets better is telling myself that, this is just a couple months. This isn't permanent. The seasons will change and I can travel. I can go to warmer places and have a little bit of break where the sun is shining. So telling myself that this is temporary and choosing to look for what is good in the moment. The sky, the beauty of fall, even though it's cold, the leaves are gorgeous. Yesterday I just took a quick walk outside and I noticed a big flock of geese heading south. Just all of those wonderful things that you can take in that can lift your spirits. For me, it's a clear choice of how I want to walk. In my heart, in my mind, and in my soul. Yeah, it's temporary. Everything is temporary and it's transient. And so when we think about doing things getting worse, I'm wondering, what you notice is hard for you in this moment. I use the term hard, but what is it that you're moving through that feels like it's getting worse and you're hoping to get to the better? And I have some ideas. I mean, for me, it's the weather. I actually had a season where I had to have some surgery, and I am looking at doing the other foot, and I know what to expect. And I definitely know it's going to get worse before it gets better. The recovery is long. I developed sciatica from letting my foot heal because I couldn't walk on it. And to be quite honest, it was really hard emotionally to get through that. So, I think planning ahead when you're stepping into a difficult season or change, getting prepared and bolstering yourself for what's coming and really envisioning the other side. And I'm so sorry. It's Rosie? That's hard. I'm wondering, Rosie, what state you're in. We've got some people with your name here in Ohio. So I'm hearing there's lots of overwhelm because there's a lot on the plate. I mean, and certainly, especially if you're a single mom and you have children, or you don't have a supportive person, and you're kind of doing the parenting piece on your own, there are periods of overwhelm. Oh, okay, Connecticut. Oh, that's really, really hard. So we're going to talk a little bit about loss today as well. And so my heart goes out to you. It's really hard to lose your partner. And I'm hoping that was a supportive relationship for you. Um, oh, okay. And so maybe part of the transition is in things are going to get worse when he comes back home. But for right now, I have a respite. Maybe things will get worse when he starts talking. And right now, he's giving me the silent treatment. So I'm hearing a lot. Oh, Rosie. Um, so being alone is especially isolating. And you're up there in Connecticut. And I'm wondering how many of you have found the support of community or social engagement being a helpful part of you walking in the difficult moments. I certainly know that also having a supportive animal, animals can give us so much companionship and so much love. Are you all hearing me clearly? I think our Karen is telling me that she's not hearing anything. Is your internet? Am I frozen on your screen? If you would just let me know. Okay, not frozen. Great, thanks. You know, so let's talk. Oh, supportive cat. I I have to tell you, I am returning to walking and I'm returning to working out. It is a must for me. Otherwise, my mood state's going to go way down during the winter months. But I lost my support animal. I mean, it really wasn't a support animal. She was just my baby in January. And whether it's the loss of a dear pet or the loss of a family member or a partner, loss is hard and it throws us into a transition and often some really difficult emotions and a period of maybe questioning as well. Um, and so I see some of you have found the supportive community, and I want to ask, how have you found the supportive community? What communities have been supportive for you? Where have you found that fellowship, companionship? Mm. Being around others is key. Aw. So I think, Rosie, my heart goes out to you. You know, not knowing who you are when something has been, whether I mean, for you, it's a spouse. For some of us, it might be a job. Maybe that you've had this predictable job and this routine for many many years, and all of a sudden it's not there for you anymore, or you have to transition out. Um, when we don't have consistency in our life and things are different, it can really feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath us. And so when you're feeling strong feelings of isolation and aloneness, that's when I would encourage you. I think one of the most important things I have to say today is I'm doing my reading. I had shared in the earlier Facebook Live that I did that I'm reading a book by Kurt Thompson on suffering and the formation of hope. And the context of his message is that we heal and we are heard and we are seen and we experience the love of God in the context of community. I just lost a dear friend in July through a dementia type illness. And so I'm a little bit curious about the prevention of dementia. And there are two main things that are predictive of a better outcome. And one is not being isolated, being social, and the other one is exercise. And so if there's only one thing you take away today, I guess the question would be, how do I develop that social community? What will it take for me to step into that? Where do I begin? but I want to say you must. And the other thing is, what will it take for me to get physically moving? And when I say that if I'm not physically active over the winter, I'll be dragging. Yeah. So I'm looking and I'm seeing that you guys are finding support in your therapists, in your Christian friends, support at church. Wait, support with church and close friend are gone because of husband. No family support. Single parent, not recovering from surgery. Oh, that's a lot, Mandy. So I want to challenge you all. Where would you look for support? What are some places that you might find connection and support? Now, mind you, it's not going to be an intimate, deep connection right on the outset, but where do we begin to form relationships? Sometimes they happen in some of the strangest ways. It might, let's just think outside the box. I took an art class over the winter, drove, I don't know, 45 minutes south in the middle of winter to learn how to do fused art class. Met the teacher who reached out to me after she stopped teaching that class and asked if I wanted to meet at her home. She's given me private art lessons. I'm hoping to form a friendship with her. She's an interesting woman. I want to be there to support her. She's going through some things. So whatever God has in mind, relationships start in this, can begin in some of the strangest ways. Obviously through work connections, but what about a regular exercise class or meeting people at the gym, volunteering organizations, when you volunteer on a regular basis and getting to know the people in those groups. You guys are coming up with some good ideas. Step challenges are doing. So what is a step challenge? Some meaningful connections I found a group of, it's a particular type of work that I do. And it wasn't just for therapists and coaches, but it was for everybody. And it was a book study online on Facebook. And they were meeting regularly on Saturdays. And I got to know these people. It's a group where they are very open about their thoughts and what they're going through in life. And so we formed kind of a knowing of one another and a support of one another. And it's been a wonderful group. I pop in and out as I can. Kathy is saying she found a lady from her hometown in Concord. I have some women that I work with here in Ohio who have done the same. They have found women in their local communities and then also in other states and have formed deep partnerships and friendships. Wow. Wait, how many steps in 4? That's a lot of steps in 4 months. Awesome. You guys got this. And I'm intentionally, Marta is saying, and now you're in the Concord community. So I do want to mention that we do have our Concord community open right now, and it will be open until the 17th at midnight. At a very minimal cost. And I will tell you, I had a woman in we do group coaching classes as well. And I had a woman in my group coaching class and she was so cute. And she said to me, I'm not in a destructive relationship, but I just love this material and it's so rich. She was a coach. And she said, I joined just for access to the material, for the growth work, for the community. And so I want to encourage you, there's no excuse for you having to be alone. And I think if you're an introvert like me, it takes a little extra oomph to get out and to do those things. I'm always reluctant to do those things because I'm an introvert. But I never regret it. And I know that it's always good for my soul. So I want to encourage you. Conquer is our support and educational group, and it is open twice a year. It will not be open again until March, but you have an opportunity to join with a bunch of new women now who will be joining along with you and will take you through the steps to conquer so you get your feet wet, and get to try out what it's like to be in community and to grow with a community of women. And there is a Facebook support group where you can ask questions and interact with one another and find support that way. You can connect with other ladies through the Facebook group, and also on the live calls, many women they exchange phone numbers and things like that. Let's see. And so I don't want you to miss out on that. You don't have to commit to joining for a year, although you can. You can commit to joining now, and you can work month to month. And I want to tell you, especially for those of you writing in the chat, there are topics on things such as grief. Moving forward, I think something that's really supportive and helpful is, how do I manage my thoughts around the struggles that I'm facing and feeling? Because it's just really hard right now. And so we talk about a lot of those things. How do I develop my strength? How do I not listen to my emotions and let them get the better of me? How do I order my thoughts so that I can choose to be strong and to engage in the things that will help me to grow? Yeah. You guys are amazing. Okay, I'm going to go through the chat here. Yeah. Walking groups. I know there's a thing called Meetup. I want to try to find some women to walk with, because I like to chat with women. And, guy chat's really different. My husband, he talks about things that guys talk about. But I'd love to find a woman to walk with in my area. And there's a thing called Meetup. I guess it's a group. They have biking groups. They have walking groups. They have hiking groups. At some point, I think Karen will put some information for you about how to join our Conquer group. I think I have a banner here I can put up here as well. There we go. So if you want to know how to access that, you can. And we have support staff, if you're not computer savvy, who will walk you through that. You can learn. It's just another skill to add to your repertoire. Let's see. So one of the things you might practice, which I've done quite a bit as well, is being my own best friend. And sometimes just getting out is helpful. Sometimes I'll go out and have something to eat and just sit and enjoy my dinner by myself. I've given myself permission, when I've been in a large group setting, to not to have to talk, but just to observe and just to be me. It takes the pressure off if you're a little bit introverted like I am. Let's see. So I am going to move through, and I'm going to come back to your questions. I'm going to move through some of the material that I have here, but I wanted to give you some ideas about, I wanted to ask a question about, how do you stay in it when it feels like it's getting worse? What do you do that helps you to continue moving forward, not giving up, while it's getting worse? Yeah. What do you do? Listen to tons of podcasts. I'm going to add my own here. Reminding myself of who I am, whose I am. I try to listen to music that lifts my spirits. Sometimes it's praise, sometimes it's Ed Sheeran. I don't know. Practice detaching. Would you say more about that, Marta? What are you detaching from? And Laura as well. What do you detach from when things are getting worse? What is it that helps you be strong? What is it that helps you stay in it? Oh, detaching from the nastiness. So, yeah, journal, press into the Lord, His Word, listen to teachings from the Conquer Library or wise others. Absolutely. I have some ideas. We've talked about exercising, we've talked about community of support, drawing close to God. Um, and the detaching piece is a big one. Paying more attention and noticing when it doesn't agree with you. Maybe it's an activity, but maybe it's another person, and choosing to avoid or to move away from difficult, negative, or destructive people. Sometimes maybe it's a neutral relationship, but it just doesn't help you. It just doesn't help you become stronger. Yeah, having a therapist, getting out of the house. You do you, I do me. I love the thought of getting out with friends. When I was a single, I used to host women, and we would have prayer nights. We would bring tons of food, and I mean, there was all age ranges. I was one of the younger ones in my 20s, but we had other ladies in their 30s, maybe even early, yeah, probably 30s at the time. And we would bring food. We'd have prayer time. Whoever wanted to spend the night would spend the night, and they'd stay till Sunday. I think we'd start on Friday night. They'd stay however long they wanted. But everyone was in a different phase of life. Some were going through divorce. It was just such a wonderful time of us just being together and having fun and supporting one another. Trying not to engage. Well, here's a big, cleaned my Facebook friend list. Oh, yeah, there you go. Choosing to remove the negative comments. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, what about your mindset? How do you choose to focus? One of the ways that we can stay well and stay strong is to tell ourselves truthful and compassionate statements, such as, I know I'm alone now and I'm grieving, but I can find hope, or I can engage in life, or I can enjoy this moment. Gray, they rock. Okay. All right. And so building your support starts internal and it's external as well. Elizabeth Elliot coped by doing the next thing. One of the things I find comfort and security in is routine as well. Sometimes when, and I know some of you are going through some really tough times, and I think of our sister Rosie here, who's just trying to create life, and it's been so consistent for 50 years. But routine can be very, very helpful when things are getting worse. And it might be something just as simple as starting your morning out the same way, making your coffee, taking your animal out, doing your stretches, putting your makeup on. But if you have that consistent routine, it gets you up and it gets you moving and it gets you going. What you don't want to do is stay stuck. And I've shared this so many times, but I'll share it again, that when I had anxiety, and many of you are experiencing maybe some moments of anxiety or overwhelming anxiety, but I had some problems with an overload of cortisol. So I would wake up in the morning just really feeling fear. And the fear left me as if I just wanted to kind of curl up in a ball. And what I learned was it was physical. There was no danger in my life. There was no real threat. And so I had to learn to overcome that. So I developed a routine of getting up in the morning, looking out the window, stepping outside and looking at the sky. And some of the words that I would tell myself, it's a brand new day. And I would look up into the sky, and then I would start my routine. I would let my dog out. I would get my at the time drank coffee. I would drink my coffee, but it was enough to pick up what I was carrying and to move with it anyways. And sometimes I want to say to you that sometimes we just have to carry that with us until we get to the next moment. Yeah. Yeah. And so stepping away from what's affecting you negatively can be so nurturing, right? And regulating. We want to regulate to what is calming and what is grounding for us. I'm looking at your questions. I want to touch my screen, and that's not a touch screen. Yeah, I say I'm excited about this day. My mother-in-law used to quote, "This is the day the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it," no matter where you're at. So I wanted to share something with you, and I'm practicing learning how to use these tools. So if you will give me a moment, why don't you put in the chat some statements that you tell yourself to help you get through when it feels hard, while I'm pulling up these files for us. Here we go. And I've got one more. I let the earlier live know that I'm new at this. So here we go. And I'm hoping this is large enough, but I'm a daughter of the King. I always tell myself I'm a daughter of the Most High God. We are royalty. Like I loved watching Queen Elizabeth and her family. It just was always curious to me because here in the States, if you're in the States, we don't revere anyone really. We trash even our president. But over there was a sense of honor for the Queen. And I thought, God is the King. And we are his children. I mean, just take that in. Like, I can't be part of the royal family in England, but I am a part of God's royal family. I'm blessed and highly favored. There's always something worse. So here's a reframe. Let's see if I can get this. Here's a reframe. When things are getting worse, it means that things are changing. And change means something that was working in the past has gone away. And so if we think of it that way, the truth of the matter is things do get worse before they get better. It's a fact, especially when you're engaging in change, doing your own work, and certainly in therapy. It is reality. It's what happens when you improve something or you engage in growth. It just really is a reality. And it's because we are removing what is constant and what is known, and we're engaging in a period of uncertainty. So if you're in the process of things changing and it feels like things are getting worse, we want to reframe that into this is a good thing. Things are getting worse, but things are changing. And maybe you can't embrace that in some of your circumstances, but I am changing. Life is a process of change, of loss and letting go. And so when things are changing and we are letting go of things, we are moving forward to something new, right? And so there is a process of change that we engage in, and I'm going to add this to help you. And I was trying to make this really big. I don't know if it's big enough for you to see, but I will walk you through it. So let me know if you can see this. I think you might want to, I will post it. But look at this curve. So if you look at the very left side of the curve, there is kind of a straight line through the middle of it. And that is status quo. So when something happens in our life, maybe it's a loss or a death or a divorce or a new job, um, we kind of become immobilized. We can feel overwhelmed. And it is a shock to our system, but this is the way things happen. And then we may go into a state of denial or confusion. We become maybe uncertain about what's next, maybe a little perplexed or bewildered. Sometimes we may want to engage in self-pity or blame or anger. And at some point, right before we get to the bottom of the curve, we engage in resistance. We maybe want to avoid it. We don't want it. We want to look back. We want what we knew. We want what is constant and consistent. But then as we embrace the changes in life, often maybe because we have no alternative, like this person is no longer here for me. I can't count on the relationship any longer. Or my children have moved on and now they're living their lives without me in its daily. We get to a place where we get to choose with willingness to accept the change. And that's where we can let go and move forward. And once we hit that bottom of the curve, we step into really an exploration of new things. And we want to engage in this with openness. And we want to explore new behaviors, new ways of being, maybe new ways of looking at our problems. And what ends up happening is we integrate these changes and the difficulties in a new way of being. And all along the way, as we're reaching the top of that curve, we are developing new skills, growing into maturity. And this is the process of growth and change. And often what that means is there has been a season of sometimes, if you will, pruning of some of the things that are no longer working or no longer possible. And so when I talk about reframing it, what I mean is we have the option of what we tell ourselves moving forward. And so this is really hard. This is really painful, but I'm choosing to move forward. And maybe that's the statement that you embrace moving forward. And I see Kathy saying, I am radically accepting. I'm radically accepting this new path. I am radically accepting this diagnosis. I am embracing hard. I can do tough. And so for me, I use a lot of those declarative statements because what you tell yourself, your brain believes. And so if you can look at yourself and you can bolster yourself with courage and strength and step into what it is that you want to envision for the future, you're taking the next step forward. Oh, I like that. And Lori's saying, I used to tell myself that I can't. Now I ask myself, how can I? And so I don't want you to do hard alone, but I want, I think Leslie's really taught me that I can do hard. I can do uncomfortable and I can embrace change. And the one thing that I've learned is that we will not grow without feeling uncomfortable. There we go. So I'm going to, we have, it's a good time now for me to invite you to ask any questions that you have. And Karen is here supporting us today. And I'm going to ask Karen if she would like to, if you would like to post the questions privately, she can put that in the chat for you. Yeah. And while I'm waiting for you to send in some questions, I'm just going to look through the chat here. I see that Anne is saying, I tell myself that God loves me and that is enough. I won't beg you to love me and I'm no longer fearful of being alone. I love that. And so I see radical acceptance with that statement. I won't beg you to love me. I'm accepting that you're not going to love me. And I'm going to look where love is available to me. And I'm not afraid of being without you. Wow, that's powerful. And you might not feel that in every moment, but when you set yourself up to look in the mirror and to say that to yourself, your brain is going to be rewired and you're going to be moving forward. God has a plan for your life. He has not abandoned us. He has promised to continue to do the work, and He is capable of holding us in Christ until the day He comes for us. All right. So I have a couple questions, and I'm going to move into those. The first question I have is, how do I stop isolating when others have made me feel self-conscious by telling me that they think I'm socially awkward? Oh, that's interesting. And I'm wondering, you can say more about that if you'd like. But the first thing I want to say is I'm a little bit curious. And if those people are still in your life, I might want some more information. Because just because someone tells me that I'm socially awkward doesn't mean it's true. These could be mean girls. These could be bullying people. I grew up in a sarcastic family. We used to make fun of each other and put each other down just because that's what we did, until I learned that wasn't kind and loving. And so just because someone told me that doesn't mean it's true. So the first thing I guess to say, I might go back to them and I might ask some questions like, when you said that you thought I was socially awkward, what behaviors was it that you were referring to, that you were observing? And there may be some good information in that. And those might be some things that I might choose to work on. I mean, I'm always asking my friends to tell me like it is, you know what I mean? And the people that I've allowed into my life to tell me hard truths so that I can work on those things. And so the other part of that is, who do you choose to be? I want to invite you that that doesn't have to be your reality and your truth moving forward. And so there may be some negative self-statements that you're making about yourself, is that I'm not worthy of social connection. People are just going to experience me as being odd, and that's going to be uncomfortable for me. But I see a lot of growth areas here for you. And so I would encourage you to make a choice to engage in a group or a friendship. But we're always, and I really would love to do a teaching on this, but we need to find the right people in our life, right? Because if we don't, in some cases, we're letting go of what's not working, what's not healthy for us. But we have to learn how to select healthy people and how to listen to what is empowering and encouraging. And the scripture tells us to think about things that are lovely, that are honest, that are worthy of our mindset. And so we want to surround ourselves with people who encourage that as well. And so I think it's a matter of prayer, like, God, lead me into those groups or just into those friendships where I can be with a sister who is kind of iron for me, that they can sharpen me and help me to grow. All right, you guys are letting them pour in. Let's see. Oh, okay. Cortisol's a thing. So we can have an overabundance of cortisol for many reasons. One is not getting enough sleep can impact the level of cortisol that we have in our body. We can become sensitive to caffeine and other stimulants that can increase cortisol in our bodies. So there's some, okay. Sorry, I didn't read the question. The question is, can you speak more about the impact of cortisol on our body and how it impacts us? So cortisol is one of those stress hormones. And it can be affected by so many things. An abundance of estrogen can cause an elevation in cortisol. But one of the things that I'll speak to the most is stress. If you are living in a situation where your body is constantly overloaded and overwhelmed, and you're driving yourself, it may have become a habitual patterned way of life for you. It's almost where I think it was Archibald Hart years ago who wrote a book about living on adrenaline. It's part of the American way of life where we strive, and push until we're overwhelmed. That is using up the cortisol resources in your body. You only have so much cortisol for life. If you tax your adrenals, they can cease to function. That's an extreme disorder. But we want to manage our stress levels and stay within our window of tolerance. And we do that in many ways. That's why we're talking about self-care here today. What do we do to manage life when it gets hard? Because all of that mediates our perception and the way that we move through stressful situations. And so I'm so glad you brought this up, because thinking about, when you're going through loss, that is stress on your body. When you're going through change, that is stress on your body. So there are going to be times where you're going to need to just recognize that I am in a transition and my body is in a state of overwhelm, and I need to be mindful of caring better for myself. I need to eat better. I need to exercise. I need to rest. And so there will be times where a system is overloaded, where we can do things to mediate that. One of the things that I did, which I was told to do by one of my practitioners, was to do, he said heavy weightlifting. I don't do heavy weightlifting, but heavy weightlifting kind of decreased some of the hormonal levels in my body and gave me a sense of confidence and a calmness. There are many other things, but cortisol with long-term stress can be debilitating to our health. It overwhelms your immune system, and it can predispose you to all kinds of ailments and illnesses. So there's kind of a correlation there. Yeah. I have a dear friend who's taken on a project. She's a high-level executive and is starting at a new place with many locations. And I don't hear from her. She's in her second week because she is focused. And she knows that she doesn't have the bandwidth to do all the other things while she's learning a new role and a new system. And, she's talked to me about how hard it is. It doesn't mean she's not going to do hard, but she's recognizing that it's a lot. And so stepping into the reality of maybe you're taking on a project and how will I care for myself? And in her case, it's a whole new job. That is stressful on your body. So caring for yourself in those moments is key. Let me see here. Okay, so I hope that helps. The next question is, my husband gets on my case because the house isn't how he wants it. I have 5 children and I homeschool, so I often get behind with housekeeping. He doesn't help, so I've decided to embrace radical minimalism. Is it okay to do so when my motivation is exhaustion and hurt? And so I'm wondering who you're asking if it's okay and why. Yeah. I have a lot of strong thoughts about what you've shared. I'm just going to say it like it is. You're in the middle of hard. And that's why I mentioned raising kids is, especially if it doesn't come natural for you, which it didn't for me, it's just hard. I mean, I loved every minute of it, but I wasn't natural with all of that stuff. Learning how to deal with the moods and just the demands of being a mom and a housewife. I'm a horrible homemaker. It's just not what I like to do. And so you're in the middle of a very stressful situation. You get to choose what is most important and what you prioritize. Often, when you're in a healthy relationship, you do that together and you make concessions. But ultimately, you know what your limitations are, and that's self care. And when you're the mom of 5 children, you get to choose what's most important. The children can't care for themselves, they need you there. And so something has to give. Is it going to be the house being in a pristine manner in the way that he wants? Or is it going to be the children? I love radical minimalism. I was just telling my friend that I cleaned the house this Saturday and we redid our floors. I don't have anything on the floor anymore, and I didn't put up anything on the walls. I can't believe how easy it is to clean. I'm really looking forward to that. So I would say I don't know if your motivation to move into radical minimalism is exhaustion and hurt. I think your exhaustion and hurt is informing you that you need to make some changes. And it's self-caring to say that my main role is the children and homeschooling, and I can't do it all. To me, that's awareness. Someone's going to be disappointed here, and I'd hate for it to be you or the children. All right. We have some time left, so if you have some more questions, I'm going to look through the feed here. Oh, and you're getting some support here in the feed. So this is Lori. Yeah. People can make all kinds of demands on us in life, but ultimately we have to choose who we answer to, and ultimately that's God. And you have to steward your own body. If you're not putting your oxygen mask on, and a part of putting my oxygen mask on is establishing what my priorities are, because I like to say yes easily. And if I don't have my priorities and things in order and things on my schedule, I will extend myself well beyond what I can drive my engine at. My engine's not 40 years old anymore, and I cannot do that. And so whether or not people outside of myself are asking or demanding things, it's my job to steward well my yeses and my nos. I had someone ask me if I loved myself, and it threw me, and I didn't understand the question. I researched it and realized the answer was no. So I chose to work to learn to love myself and to grow and to start an exercise program and a new way of eating to help reduce the inflammation which came from stress. And thank you for mentioning that. And that's one thing that I hadn't mentioned either. There is a correlation also with stress and inflammation, and along with the cortisol levels. Inflammation is the enemy of our body. Inflammation, it can be a precursor to disease and ailments. And so along with diet, caring for yourself through exercise, managing what's on your plate, can be the best way to love yourself well and move toward healing. So I am, let's see, we're almost at the bottom of the hour here. Let's see. So Mary is suggesting journaling, choosing one passion that you want to do in the next month and journal it like it's finished and every detail is there and what it will look like. That sounds wonderful. Say a mission trip or a journal. Imagine as you write it, by 30 days, you feel like you've lived it and you have confidence and excitement because you've imagined it. I love that. That sounds wonderful. So you guys are coming up with all kinds of great ideas. All right. How can I better manage myself so I can avoid the pity party? Well, just briefly, I would say managing how you talk to yourself about what you must do, and then choosing to prioritize what is most important. To get those things done first so that you're managing yourself well. But I think managing yourself well to avoid the pity party is how you're talking to yourself about your situation. Do you want a victim mindset? I have some things that I don't think I went through this morning or this evening. But the question to ask yourself is, how will I let this transition define me? You get to choose. And along with that, how will I let this define me? What strengths am I bringing to the table? How do I want to envision myself as I move through this? Maybe at the end of the healing journey, right? I get to choose who I'm becoming in the midst of this. So what might that sound like? How will I let this define me? What do I want most to be my outcome? What thoughts or ideas do you have about that? And then also, what strengths am I bringing to the table? Fortitude, consistency, discipline, choosing not to give up, focusing on the next step forward, knowing I can do hard. All right. Okay. So the next question is, receiving God's love is so important. Oh, do you have ideas in accepting God's love? I do. And I've worked on it, and I still work on it, because I think it's really hard to appropriate God's love. So what I do, my little ditty, is I go to the openbible.com and I do a search on what does the Bible say about God's love for me. And then I print off 100 scriptures. And then I go through the scriptures, and whichever ones I feel like I want to meditate on and rehearse, I scratch out and I put my name right in there and I read it to myself. For God so loved Diana that he gave his only begotten son, so that if Diana would believe in him, she would have eternal life. Like, and make it personal. And then I just meditate on that, and I allow myself to feel it and to think about it and to try to digest that. The other thing I might do is maybe I know my friend she's so dear, and she has this on her computer as Jesus loves, her name's Laura. Right on her, it scrolls across her screen, Jesus loves Laura. You might put that on your mirror or somewhere where you can see that readily. So those are just a few of the things. But one of the things I want to tell you is, as I'm reading Kurt Thompson's book, it's so true that God's design is that we experience and embrace the love of Christ through one another. So as you develop relationships and community, and that's really why we are committed to being here for you and with you, because we want you to feel the love of the body of Christ, the support, and there's healing in that. And unfortunately, God's chosen to use suffering to conform us to the image of Christ. So the design is that we are his body and his community, and we are to be safe for one another, so that we see one another, we walk with one another as we are suffering, maybe broken, maybe bruised, but that as we experience that with one another and are there for one another and experience each other's love, we are experiencing the love of Christ because Christ is in all of us. So we are, I think one person put it, I think it was Tim Clinton who put it, he's the president of the AACC, is that we're a bunch of Jesuses because he's in all of us. So community, loving support of godly people who are there with you and receiving God's word into your heart. Okay. Next one. I'm not new to this journey. Things did get harder when I got stronger. They are still hard. Yeah, but I'm staying fairly well while trying to see what I ultimately want to do in my journey. I wonder how I will know when enough is enough by God's standards. I want to steward myself well. And I'm not sure what that, and maybe you can say more about that. I don't know what that means. I wonder how I will know when enough is enough by God's standards. And I'm not sure what you're saying is enough. Is it enough abuse? I don't know. What is enough? What is too much? Are you speaking of a difficult relationship? I think it would be helpful to put some context on that. But I'm going to assume at this point, until you put something else out there, that maybe enough means a difficult and destructive relationship. And you get to decide. You get to decide what is enough. And it's important to know that if you are in a relationship, in a marriage relationship where you are suffering and enduring abuse of any form, whether it's neglect, whether it's verbal, emotional, that it is destructive to your soul and that is not God's will for you. So you do not have to wait. It's written in the scriptures. And one thing that I typically use as a measure for when enough is enough is when it becomes harmful to you. And, we have to pay attention to our bodies and our brains. And if you're in a place where there's confusion and there's fog and you can't function and you're not functioning across the board, not at home, not at work, and you're starting to isolate or your body's breaking down, that's enough. That's enough to do something different and to start caring for yourself. And that's why I don't know if you're a part of the Conquer community, but those are part of the challenges that we want to embrace with you. And there are some tough decisions to make along the way, but that comes through getting stronger and through developing clarity. And then you're able to make those choices in a biblical format with wisdom and certainty. So I'm hoping that's helpful. There are always consequences to our choices. There's always loss. And sometimes we have to choose between bad and worse. But I think ultimately your health and your well-being and your ability to walk out the calling God has given you. And sometimes you're not in a good place to be a good judge of that for yourself. And that's where other loving people in your life may be helpful to tell you what they're witnessing. And they may be able to helpful to tell you that it is enough for you now and help to be a strength and a support to you. So I want to invite you to join us. And if it's the right time for you to dig in and to do some growth work, to know that you're not alone and that you have a community around you. If you're a little shy, don't be shy. If you're a little untech savvy, you can figure that out. We have plenty of support and help. Growth comes from learning and challenging yourself to try new things. And it does occur outside of our comfort zone. Unfortunately, I've had to learn that and try things that I'm not comfortable with. As I said, I don't know if I told you guys, but I told my husband before I started, I said, I've been having heart palpitations. I think it's because I have to do a Facebook Live alone. So don't think I don't experience stress and a little bit of fear. But it happens a bit when I'm outside of my comfort zone. And that doesn't mean that I can't do hard, but it means my body knows it's different and it knows it's difficult for me. And so we just choose it because we know that in the long run, it's going to be good for our growth and for God's community. Let's see. So we have another Facebook Live tomorrow at noon is what does it mean to accept and let go, especially when I don't want to? And I just want to ask you as we kind of wrap up today, I will post those charts for you in the feed. And I just want to ask you, what's your big aha moment from our talk today and the time that we spent together? Or what is your takeaway or what's been empowering for you? What did you hear as a part of our time together that you want to hold close to your heart? And I'd also like to see if Rosie's still here. And I want to say that I will be praying for you. I don't know if she's still on screen or not. What is your aha moment? Something you learned, something you want to carry with you. What's been empowering for you tonight? As you have heard what we've talked about, maybe God has sparked your heart and your mind. If you just put that in the chat, we'll just take a couple minutes to do that. And again, I'm going to take down my banner. And encourage you to join us and conquer. Oh, Lori, you don't have to wait for anyone to give you permission to take care of yourself. We're moms. We put on our oxygen masks so we can then be available for other people. You get to prioritize your care. It is not selfish. It's called stewardship. God expects us to steward our lives, our time, our talents. We're going to answer for that. Our husbands are not. We're accountable for our own selves. We were created co-equal in the eyes of God to walk out this life together. We're just helpers for each other. When things get hard, that means change is happening. My takeaway, I have tools within me to offset the hard. Love this, you guys. Letting go of something that's no longer working. Would love to talk to you about that. Anytime, Stephanie. We want to prune that off. We want to make room for new growth. We have to let go of what we're clinging to. You know, all those old clothes in my closet that I'm never going to wear, I just have to wade through all that. It weighs me down. It slows me down. Yeah. I have tools to offset the hard. Yeah. The change curve. Absolutely, Nancy. Nice to see you on live. Exercise. Exercise cannot be underrated. You have to move. Personalizing Bible verses, meditating on them. And some of you ladies I've had in my groups, it's been a joy to know you. Love myself enough to take care of myself. Change means something that worked in the past goes away. I think that's a good reframe on change, is stepping into something new. It can be refreshing if we allow it. It's hard to leave, and I'm thinking of some of you that have lost loved ones. It's hard to let go of that, but it is the process of growth in our life. It is what we must embrace and deal with. Fortunately for us, we have a promise that isn't the end. How do you get rid of the clothes with the memories? To literally, but I don't want to keep Karen too long. But when my daughter moved back home during 2020, they just like, you have to get rid of this stuff. So they literally held up the clothes that I couldn't get rid of because like I had a mom and daughter matching dress. We took pictures of it. And then we tossed it in the bag to go because I wasn't using them. So anything that has a memory to it, I take a picture of it and then I ask myself, am I going to use this? Do the kids want it? Is it going to weigh me down? And then it goes. How do I get rid of something that has a stronghold? Okay. Okay. I have my first concert shirt and my first camp shirt. That's so cool. Yeah. Well, keeping one or two shirts is not a big deal. How to get rid of something that has a stronghold? That's a bigger question. I'm not sure what you're speaking of, but if there's a stronghold in my life, I usually think some things don't come out but by prayer and fasting. So I might choose to fast and to pray. And then I've also in the past, I've had another friend pray along with me and pray over me. And then beyond that, I make it a choice that I'm ready and willing to let go of whatever it is that seems to have a stronghold on me. And then I clear out my attic. I choose not to engage in that any longer. Whatever it might be. You ladies are awesome. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for your time and for your honesty and your vulnerability. And so with that, I'm just going to say goodnight. I'm looking forward to seeing you again on any of the lives, and hopefully, if it's right for you to be a part of the Conquer community, to being able to work with you along the way. So I just want to say God bless you and good night.